Is the only person that truly knows what's best for us ourselves? Is there someone who you'd trust in the driver's seat of your life, or would they steer you straight into oncoming traffic? Let's discuss that today on rLounge. Up first, a mother with some serious attachment issues. Am I the a-hole for breaking up with my fiancé because of his mother? Original post March 8th, 2023. My fiancé, 26 male, and I, 24 female, have been dating for 4 years and engaged for 5 months. For some context about my fiancé, he is an outstanding partner. He is so kind and gentle, always ensures I feel secure in our relationship, and treats me like a complete queen. I have had an extremely traumatic childhood, especially from my high school years and from past relationships, which he knows all about and has supported me constantly and always done things to prove to me during difficult times that I am safe and that he is always there for me. With all of that aside, the only thing that bothers me a little about my fiancé is that his mother and him have a bit of what I call an extreme relationship. What I mean by this is they are extremely close, as it has been only the two of them since he was 8 years old. I have always been so nice to her and have done a lot during our whole relationship to spend time with her, helping her with anything she needs, and try to become close with her. But unfortunately, no matter what I do, she always expresses she hates me and doesn't believe I will ever be good enough for her son. My fiancé on many occasions has stood up for me, but he isn't very stern or isn't really completely on my side. He just tells his mother to stop it or to not fight today, which makes me feel like he is dismissing it. This has been going on our entire relationship, but one of those times, my fiancé really snapped on her and finally stood up for me, which had gotten her to stop, as he threatened she would lose him if she didn't make things right. Before this happened, I had learned to put up with it because I love my fiancé and truly believe he is the one for me. But ever since he proposed to me 5 months ago, his mother has gotten aggressively worse. She texts me horrible messages, leaves me voicemails, gets her friends to also harass me, and anytime she sees me in person, she is terrible, only when my fiancé is not around. She has resulted to being nasty no longer in front of my fiancé because of what he said the time he had stood up to her. 3 days ago, I called off the engagement and broke things off with my fiancé without telling him what his mother had been doing. I was scared to tell him because I know he loves her and I didn't want to come between them again, especially when he has been so happy that we are finally getting along, because his mother fakes being friendly and loving in front of him. He understandably was devastated, and so am I. His best friend and other close friends, along with his sister and my family, as well as friends, have been calling me nonstop for the past 3 days, calling me an a-hole for leaving my fiancé and breaking his heart for no reason. My fiancé has also been calling and texting, begging for me to talk. His mother sent me one text. To sum it up, it had said, "I am glad you were gone. If I had known treating you like this would have made you leave my son sooner, then I would have been this nasty from the start. My son will realize you are just a slut and move on easily." I ended up telling my older brother why I ended things, as well as my fiancé's best friend, as him and I are fairly close too. They both understand where I'm coming from, but told me I need to tell my fiancé because he will handle his mother and has been a wreck without me, as I have been without him too. They also said that I need to stand up to his mother myself. So here's where I feel guilty and think I may be the a-hole. I finally called my fiancé and asked him to meet up. On my way to go meet him, I texted his mother a long paragraph calling her a vile, disgusting woman and going off on her about all the stuff she has done. When I reached my fiancé, he looked incredibly angry. Apparently, his mom immediately called him crying, saying that I texted her saying I was going to beat her up, and called her horrible names for simply calling me to make sure I was okay, which obviously wasn't the case. Once I had told my fiancé what really happened, as well as showed him all the proof of what I said and what she had been doing for 5 months, he broke down crying, and so did I. We both consoled each other, and he profusely apologized for his mother's behavior. He blew up on his mother and immediately went no contact with her. He also uninvited her from our wedding. My family, my friends, his friends, and his aunt, his mother's sister, all were happy we were back together and proud of my fiancé for standing up to his mom and cutting her out of his life. But all his other family and his mother's friends have been berating me, calling me the a-hole for destroying the relationship between him and his mother. I can also see that my fiancé is absolutely crushed by this. So I'm regretting leaving and wish that I had just continued to put up with it like I had before. That way, none of this would have happened. So, am I the a-hole? You are absolutely not the a-hole at all, OP. Quite the contrary. His mother sounds evil. It's hard to believe how she can behave that way to someone who her son loves and adores so much. The fact that she's willing to see him go unhappy without you is vile. Update April 14th, 2023. Hello everyone. I'm sorry for this long-awaited update. I wanted to make sure before I updated that my fiance and I had totally worked through everything and made sure everything was fixed, understood, and cared for on both our parts. To start off, I would like to thank everyone for your comments, whether they were good or bad. All of them really helped to open my eyes to things I wasn't understanding myself during this time. Now on to the update. My fiance and I had extremely long and multiple discussions during this duration of time explaining our thoughts and feelings. To start off, I had explained to him that I totally saw how wrong it was, after the fact, to jump the gun and ended things when I very well could have told him and talked to him about what was going on. I told him that I was just afraid that this was going to be a never-ending cycle with his mother, and I wasn't sure if I wanted to deal with that for the rest of my life, as I would surely be miserable. But again, I apologized to him profusely for not coming to him and showing him what his mother had been up to behind his back, and then hurting him by blindsiding him and breaking things off. I also did explain to him, though, that I believe a part of me didn't want to tell him because previously, although he had stuck up for me, the build-up before that was him brushing a lot of the stuff his mother would do off, and it hurt me deeply. I explained to him that the future I saw with him, his mother, and I was going to be full of anger, hate, and just negativity. I asked him if she could do these things to me before we were even married, then what would happen when we are, or even when we had children in the future? I didn't want that for me, for him, or for any kids we were to have. My fiancé explained to me that he realized that he wasn't fully standing up for me or setting stern boundaries with his mother before, and he can't imagine how that must have made me feel. He said that he deeply regrets not being the man he wanted to be for me, especially when we were setting up a future together. He told me that it was completely unfair of me to go about things the way I did, and that it hurt him so much that I just left him and didn't let him know so he could help deal with the issues. But he said he did now understand why I felt like I couldn't or felt like I didn't want to, as he was being blinded by the love he had for his mother. We both have started individual and couples therapy to work through any unresolved issues and issues related to the situation. His individual therapy has had a lot to do with his mother and talking about his mother, whereas my individual therapy has been about trust issues and communication issues. We are trying extremely hard to work on this, as we both love each other dearly and couldn't imagine our lives without each other. As for his mother, my fiancé and I have blocked her and anyone who had sided with her immediately. We have surrounded ourselves with the ones who support us, love us, and see the wrong in what she was doing. She had reached out to both me and my fiancé to apologize and had asked to talk. We met up with her at a local cafe to chat, just to see if we could salvage anything or see if she was even sorry. To say this was a mistake would be an understatement, but I think I really opened my fiancé's eyes to just how mean and cruel that woman can be. I had also showed him the messages, voicemails, and her friends' texts, which I should have done in the first place beforehand, so this was kind of the cherry on the cake. I know it was extremely hard for him, as he has only seen her as the loving, gentle, hardworking single mom that she was for a majority of his life. I do hope she realizes her mistakes and tries to go to therapy herself to get the help she needs, as I do not wish any ill upon her regardless of what she has done and how she has treated me. To answer a question I saw in the comments, someone had asked how he has a sister if it was just him and his mom. My apologies for that. I think I replied to the comment. His mom is dating the father of his childhood best friend, and they are planning on getting married as well. Even before then, he has always called her his sister and her calling him her brother, so I'm just super used to calling her that, so sorry for any confusion. Anyways, thank you again to everyone. My fiancé also gives his thanks and appreciation to everyone in the comments, and I thank you all for being so kind and patient as well as following along with us through this crazy situation. Good. I'm glad to hear that he finally understood what his mother was doing to you and how toxic she was for him. That's so horrendous. A mother should want the best for their children, always. And if what's best is their partner who makes them happy, then so be it. Seems like she was just very much threatened by you since it had been the two of them for so long. She needed to learn to let her baby boy go. He's a grown man who can make up his own mind about what's best for him. I'm sorry you had to experience that, OP. Do you have a similar horror story? How did your mother-in-law treat you? Let us know below. Next up, a music fan breaks free from the leash. Entitled girlfriend sent me to take a hike for going to a music fest. Or am I the a-hole for going to a music fest? Fake names for privacy reasons. This is a story that happened back in 2012, about how an entitled girlfriend chose to dump me for going to a music festival. We will call her Lena. Back in those days, I was planning to attend a music festival where a few of my favorite bands would be there. I really had to be there, so I really had to struggle to get at least one ticket for myself, which of course I did in the end, after several weeks. However, I tried to also invite a girlfriend I had at the time. Not only she declined, but she also asked me if we could make other plans instead of going to that music festival. In that instance, she wanted me to take her to some meeting. I went with her to those meetings, but the people she would meet there seemed to dislike me, so I declined this time, as I already had my ticket to that fest, and she was shocked at my answer. The day before the festival, I got a phone call from Lena, where she says something along the lines of,
"Billy, we'll meet tomorrow for the meeting I told you before."
I was blown away by what she said, and replied, "Sorry, I told you I was going to that festival. I invited you and you refused. We could meet earlier in the day and then we could go to our commitments." Maybe she was stupid or she was simply ignoring me, but she went like,
"I don't care. Tomorrow you're dressing up and coming to that meeting with me."
Still baffled, I replied, "I told you I was going to the music festival." She then hung up. The day of that music festival, we met in the morning and told her, for the final time, that I was going to the music festival instead of taking her to her meeting. She was putting up some fake smile as she replied,
"No problem."
I had a feeling that something was off this time. However, I was more excited than concerned about the issue at hand, yet I didn't realize what was coming until the time I was just about to enter the site for that festival. As I was in the line to the festival, Lena began to put a serious face all of a sudden, and I asked her, "Are you okay?" And she dryly spews,
"I'm fine. Nothing's happening."
I already had a feeling that a big storm was coming. By this time, more people were adding up to the line. While I was still waiting in line, she tells me,
"Let's go already."
I simply retorted no, and left to see some t-shirts for the event. I could tell that she was seeing red, as I had a face that read, "Somebody effing kill me." I tried to de-escalate the situation and told her that I wasn't going. "But I could still get you an additional ticket and we'll go together. I told you I wasn't coming to your meeting." Bad idea. She snapped and yelled at me.
"Instead of going to see these bands that only make you want to get drunk, we should be going to that meeting. That's way better than bands that give you nothing." People were looking at us as she was yelling at me. In no way I was going to leave. I had the ticket already. So I told her, "Please don't make a fuss over this. You better go to that meeting and we'll meet tomorrow. I told you I didn't like those meetings." She then throws a temper tantrum and yells, "So you're not coming with me, huh?"
As she started bawling, she then goes like,
"All you want to do is get wasted to nonsense music."
By this time, I was just aware that more people turned at us as Lena was telling me off for being a bad guy. For the 11th time in front of people, she goes,
"You're coming with me, Billy."
I then refused and told her, "I'll meet you tomorrow instead, and you tell me how did the meeting go." She continued pushing back and saying that,
"I don't care. We're leaving together."
I refused, but in a tougher tone. She went silent for a few seconds and then told me,
"I'm out of here. Stay here with your junky music."
and left absolutely mad. At this time, another dude approached me and asked if I was okay, and I was actually invited to join him and his gang, where I met with a few people I didn't see since high school. We spent the entire evening seeing all the bands we always wanted to see live. The next day, I had a hangover, but for some reason, I was expecting my girlfriend to chew me out for what happened yesterday. We met. She was still staring daggers at me until she goes ballistic again and says,
"I can't believe you chose to go to that festival when I told you you weren't going."
I told her, "If you don't like my crap, it doesn't mean I should stop liking it." She threw some fake tears again and went like,
"Yes, I see you wouldn't change for me at all. I can't be with someone like that. You should change for the better. I don't get, why do you like wasting time at these places?"
And then I began crying on the spot. Don't know if it was because of what she said or because of the hangover. At this point, she forced me to promise I would change and that I would leave my bad ways before leaving home. Over the course of the week following the whole thing, she was in a mood that she wouldn't be with me unless I changed, and actually felt ashamed to hang out with me because it was frowned upon by the people at her church. What the F? The next week, she decided to call it a day because I wasn't a man of God, and that the entire festival incident was the straw that broke the camel's toe that made her realize I was an a-hole. I would ask if I'm the a-hole, but I would have posted it you know where. Moral of the story, don't let an entitled partner make you change who you are. F that people if they don't love you for who you are. Edited because of a name mistake. Edit 2. It seems that there are a few people who are assuming I'm still being bothered by an event that actually happened more than 10 effing years. I mentioned it once within the comments. I chose to post this because I've gotten over it and it is now a funny story to me, and I felt like sharing it. Got it? Thank you for understanding. Now let's see what some of the folks from the community have to say. Ramen Noodle 620 says, "What were these meetings that she wanted to go to? Seems like a strange reaction from her." The OP replies, "She would often drag me to her Catholic meetings. Hopefully this may clarify the missing part of the story." Corpse Feet chimes in, "That makes her so much worse. For your use of meeting, I had assumed it was an AA meeting, and she had alcohol problems. It made a little sense that she might be worried about you and triggered in that case. It would still make her in the wrong, but at least somewhat understandable. but wanting you to go to a random church meeting instead of a festival, she did you a huge favor by calling it off. Asha108 says, LMAO, she was so mad when you wanted to go to a music festival rather than sit in a church with a bunch of super religious people. Totally dodged a bullet back then, especially since the way she was acting seemed like she had been coached by someone on how to make you see the light. Creepy crap, bro. The Duchess of Dark chimes in, a judgmental religious hypocrite? Shocking. I hope you didn't dance to the devil music too. I'm sure Jesus would be proud. You dodged a grenade, my dude. Yikes. Yeah, I don't think we should ever let ourselves be controlled by our partners. Our partners are our partners, not our parents. I think had she been supportive and still wasn't interested in going herself, she should have just wished you well and told you to have a good time. Not only that, but just because people are in a relationship doesn't mean they can't have their own lives. We are all individuals. Being in a relationship doesn't mean you're one person. You're still two separate people with individual likes and dislikes. Thoughts? Thank you for joining us today on rLounge. Before you go, be sure to like and subscribe and hit that notification bell. If you have something you want to say regarding today's content, share that with us in the comments below.